Morning, everyone. Welcome to today's very special celebration at Nivedita house here in Dublin. We have gathered together here to celebrate Guru Purnima, and we will start off the celebrations with ritualistic offerings and puja, which would be done by Swami Vimokshananda ji.
पापकाय धर्मस्य स्वरूपिणे अवतारवरिष्ठाय ते ॐ जननीं शारदां रामकृष्णं जगद्गुरुं पादपद्मे तयोः प्रणमामि ॐ नमः श्रीविराजाय Vivekananda Sutri Satchit Sukha Swarupaya Swami Purnananda Om Sarvamangal Mangalam Hareyam Balagokulam Narayanam Namaskritya Sarva Karmani Karye Om Padvishno Paramam Padam Sada Pashyanti Surya Divya Shaksharatam Om Pavitra Pavitro Vasarva Stam Gato Piva Yasmarit Sundari Paksham Svakya Dantana Suchihi Om Yeti Gandha Pushpe Adhar Shatyadi Devanam Namah. Om Gange Jemune Jaiva Godavari Saraswati Narmade Sindhu Kaveri Jaleasmini Sannidhi Om Om Masyasano Krishna Mantrasya Nirupushta Rishi Talam Chandaha Kurmo Devata Asano Krishna Vinyoga Om Prithvi Tvaya Dita Loka Evitu Vishnuna Dita Om Chadaya Mam Nityam Pavitram Pujasanam Om Hime Devanda Pushpe Adashakti Kamalasanaya Namaha Om Aim Guru Pyo Namaha Aim Parama Guru Pyo Namaha Aim Parakara Guru Pyo Namaha Aim Parameshwara Guru Pyo Namaha Om Gam Ganeshaya Namaha Om Aim Sarvadeva Devi Surupaya Sri Ramakrishna Namaha Om Sadavishikham Swaha. Om Pushpe Pushpe Mahapushpe Pushpe Pushpasamani Pushpachavakirne Swaha. Homage. Om Durge Durge Rakshini Swaha. Om Am Hum Fat Swaha. Om Bhutasangata Shirasushuna Pate Jiyo Shivam Karma Shivapade Yojayami Swaha. Om Yam Linga Shariram Soshaya Soshaya Swaha. Om Ram Sankocha Shariram Lahadaha Swaha. Om Paramashiva Sushumna Pate Mula Sringata Mula Solasa Jala Jala Prajala Prajala Soham Hamsa Swaha. Om Yati Vyogandhari Vyodama. Om Yate Gandha Pushpe Taripte Devaya Vishnu. Om Yate Gandha Pushpe Sampradane Vyo Pujaniya Deve Vyo Namah. Om Namo Vyasate Brahman Bhasvate Vishnu Tejase Jagat Savitre Shuche Savitre Karmadayine. Om Yesha Argya Sri Suryaya Namaha. Om Javakusma Sankasham Kashyapem Mahapitam Ahankarim Sarvapapagam Paratosmi Divakaram. Om Klim Sri Suryaya Namaha. Om Vimanandam Paramasukhadam Kevalam Jnanamurti द्वन्द्वातीतं जगन्तं तत्त्वमस्यादिलक्ष्यम् एकं नित्यं विमलमचलं सर्वधी साक्षिभूतं भावातीतं त्रिगुणरहितं सद्गुरुं तं नमामि. You can sing the last three stanzas of Om Jnanaaya Swaha, Om Apanaya Swaha, Om Jnanaaya Swaha, Om Jnanaaya Swaha, Om Samanaya Swaha. Om Vidam Alam Nivedyam Srimad Satgurave Namaha. Om Mantratma Mantraraja Ayam Paramatma Atma Bhusya Buddhas Charachitantreshu Mantra Nijat Swayamvidam Jagat Sarvam Tattvamasena Samshayah Shunyakaram Nirakaram Sakaram Sarvatomukam Mantra Raja Maharaja Yogi Raja Jagatpate Suvarnavarna Sarvatma Tvamekosi Jagatguru Om Shri Bhajan Sutta. All can repeat with me the mantra that I'm going to say. The Guru Puja is now done. Now we have to do the Guru Parampara Puja. We start with the Lord Sadashiva. Imagine that you have a flower on your hands and you are offering the flowers mentally. Om Srimad Sadguru
Srimad Sadguru
Sadashiva Rupaya Namaha.
Sadashiva Rupaya Namaha.
Om Srimad Sadguru
Srimad Sadguru
Narayana Swarupaya Namaha.
Narayana Swarupaya Namaha.
Srimad Sadguru
Srimad Sadguru
Devaya Namaha.
Brahmadevaya Namaha.
Om Srimad Sadguru
Srimad Sadguru
Maharishaya Namaha.
Vasishtha Maharishaya Namaha. Om
Srimad Sadguru
Srimad Sadguru
Namaha.
Parasharamati Namaha.
Om
Sadguru
Sadvishaya Namaha.
Veda Vyasa Rishi
Namaha.
Sukha Brahma Acharyaya Namaha.
Sukha
Srimad Sadguru Gaudapada Acharyaya Namaha.
Gaudapada Acharyaya Namaha.
Srimad Sadguru
Srimad Sadguru
Govinda Pada Acharyaya Namaha.
Govindapada Acharyaya Namaha.
Srimad Sadguru
Srimad Sadguru
Sri Shankara Bhagavad Pada Acharyaya Namaha.
Sri Shankar Bhagavad Acharyaya Namaha. Om
Srimad Sadguru
Srimad Sadguru
Mutapuri Devaya Namaha.
Puri Devaya Namaha. Om
Srimad Sadguru
Srimad Sadguru
Sarvadeva
Sarvadeva
Devi
Devi
Swarupaya
Swarupaya
Sri Ramakrishna Devaya Namaha.
Ramakrishna Devaya Namaha.
Om Srimad Sadguru
Srimad Sadguru
Sri Sarvadeva
Sarvadeva
Devi
Devi
Swarupinye
Swarupinye
Sri Sarada Devi Namaha.
Sarvada Devi Namaha. Om
Srimad
Srimad Sadguru
Vivekananda Swami Namaha.
Vivekananda Swami Namaha. Om
Srimad Sadguru
Srimad Sadguru
Sri Ramakrishna
Sri Ramakrishna
Sarva Parshadebhyo Namaha.
Sarvapashadebhyo Namaha.
I give you an example. I will now say, speaking of my Guru, my mantra diksha guru, I will pray for him. And then I will give you a flower. In the same way, after telling Srimad Sadguru, Shri, I'll stop. So you all will say your own guru's name. Mentally you have to say. And then Namaha will come. Om Srimad Sadguru
Srimad Sadguru
Shri Swamine
Swamine
Namaha.
Namaha.
Om Yadakshara Padapishtam Matra Hidam Tuyat Bhave Tat Sarvam Shamyatam Deva Narayana Namostute. Om Visarga Bindu Matrani Padapada Ksharani Va Nyunani Chatirittani Shamasva Purushottama. Om Sri Satguru Namaha. Om Ayena Vacha Manasendriva Udyatmana Prakriti Subhava Karomi Yatyat Sakalam Parasmai Ramakrishna Iti Samarpayami. Om Tatsat Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. There are some more flowers here. If anyone wants, you can go near in the middle and do the prostration. One by one.
Before we move on to the next program, which would be a bhajan presented by the devotees present here on Guru Stotram, I just wanted to make a few announcements here for the devotees present within Nivedita House, just so that we are all complying with the restrictions that are still in place. Would request everybody who has not yet been fully vaccinated to keep their masks on and please maintain the requisite distance. Families can sit together and we have individual chairs for others. Thank you. Over to Chuma and the devotees for song and good talks.
परिव्याप्तं त्रैलोक्यं सचराचरम् तत्पदं दर्शितं येन तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। सर्वश्रुतिशिरोरत्ना समुद्भाषितमूर्तये वेदान्ताम्बुजसूर्याय तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। चैतन्यं शाश्वता शान्तो व्योमातीतो निरञ्जनः बिन्दुनादसनातीतः तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुरेव परं ब्रह्मा तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। ज्ञानशक्ति समारूढा तत्प्रमाणविभूषितः बुद्धिबुद्धिप्रदाभास तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। अनेकजन्म सम्प्राप्ता कल्मिद्धनविनाशिने आत्माज्ञानाग्निदानेन तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। शोषणं भवसिन्धोषां प्रापणं सारसम्पदः यस्य पादोदकः समयः तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुरेव परं ब्रह्मा तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। ना गुरोरधिकं धर्मा ना गुरोरधिकं तपः तत्त्वज्ञानात् परं नास्ति तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। मन्नाथ श्री जगन्नाथो मद्गुरु श्री जगद्गुरु मदात्मा सर्वभूतात्मा तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। गुरुरादिरनादिश्च गुरुपरमदैवतम् गुरुपरतरं नास्ति तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुरेव परं ब्रह्मा तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। ब्रह्मरन्ध्रं परमसुखदं केवलं ज्ञानमूर्तिं गन्धातीतं गगनसदृशं तत्त्वमस्यामि नश्यम्। एकं नित्यं विमलमचलं सर्वधी साक्षीभूतम् भावातीतं त्रिगुणरहितं सद्गुरुं नमामि सद्गुरुं नमामि सद्गुरुं नमामि।
After that beautiful Guru Stotram, we next have a talk on Sri Ramakrishna as Guru by Swami Purnananda.
Om Stapakaya Chidharmasya Sarvadharma Surupine Avatara Varishtaya Ramakrishnaya Te Namaha. O Ramakrishna, establisher of the universal religion, embodiment of all religions, to thee, noblest of all divine incarnations, I offer salutations. Vanachte liv gulaya. So it is a very difficult subject to talk about Sri Ramakrishna as Guru because it is so extensive for a number of different reasons. But first of all, we should really try to understand what do we mean by Guru. The one that is able to facilitate, because they are luminous, facilitate a transmutation from darkness to light in some way or other. Although they don't actually do it, but they facilitate it. And so the world is full, fortunately for us, of these self-sacrificing entities that we call Guru. And then what makes Sri Ramakrishna a distinct Guru amongst all Gurus is that there are so many evidences that he was, and in his own words, a divine incarnation. And what that means is that, as the Srimad Bhagavad tells us, that yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata. He begins like that, that from age to age, a cosmic balancing power comes and transforms our lives and generations of lives for thousands of years to come. And there is an idea, if we look at the state of the world, we can see that we require it. We require self-sacrificing people today. And it was even so in Sri Ramakrishna's time. So that it is, if we look at almost a degradation of morality over the years, we can see that it requires more cosmic balancing power throughout the ages. And if we can start, say, from Ram, then Krishna, then say Buddha, and then say Jesus, and then say Ramakrishna, or even Shankaracharya, Ramakrishna, etc., we see the impact that this has for generations to come. And even if we don't believe in the theology of incarnation, we have to admit that these huge giant waves come along and transform all our lives. And there they come with a certain suitability for that age. There's a kind of story that's going around that the planets in our solar system got together and they were discussing their various conditions, and the Earth started to complain, "How are you?" And the Earth said, "Not so well." "What's the problem?" "It's called Homo sapiens." "Never mind, it won't last long," said the other planet. And so we're in danger, really, of eliminating ourselves. And so we're living in critical times, and it was no less with Sri Ramakrishna, because all the people who came to him were young, educated people, mainly. And they were people who were influenced by Western culture, Western philosophy, Western ideas, to the point maybe of agnosticism to atheism. And there was this simple entity called Ramakrishna, who immediately, with his golden smile, lit their lives up. Lit their lives up because he wasn't a conformist. He didn't conform to a sage sitting there with eyes closed, remote from everybody, aloof in his own samadhi. No, instead they found somebody who was fun. They saw somebody who had an artless familiarity with them, somebody who had a childlike nature, and above all, somebody who had a motherly love, probably never felt by many of them before. Naran, who later became Swami Vivekananda, said, nobody loved me more than the master. And where did this all come from? It came from the fact that his long sadhana, 12 years, was a range of experiences that covered every single aspect you can think of. And in his condition of Mahabhava, his teacher who came along, Bhairavi Brahmani, seeing the 19 signs, unusual signs that are only seen, it seems, in Radha and in Sri Chaitanya. And she saw them. And nobody believed her. And of course, he was suffering greatly from all kinds of maladies. He was burning, his skin was burning. And he had a rapacious appetite from time to time. And everybody thought this was a physical malady and some even a mental malady. And Bhairavi was astute enough to see, no, this is a condition of Mahabhava. It's a condition of spiritual ecstasy. And there are precedents for it. And her remedy was laughed at. Take some flowers, take a garland, put them around his neck, put sandal paste, and then he'll soon cool down and all this will go. And Mathu Babu, who was the benefactor of Ramakrishna, thought, well, there's no harm in doing it, but it's a crazy thing to do. Surely he should respond to all these medications that can be given to him. And sure enough, when exactly that remedy was applied, the burning sensation went. It said, fill his whole room with all kinds of delicacies. And he was able to pick and choose all kinds of things that he wanted in his room. And his rapacious appetite went away. But it was observed by his disciples that there were all these kinds of signs and wonders. So it was not a normal person. If we take the normal kind of person, the normal kind of person wants to be in love with the world. And Sri Ramakrishna wasn't in love with the world at all, but it didn't mean to say that he didn't enjoy the world. In fact, he took great joy in the world. Previously, people maybe had thought that the goal is this eternal life called Nitya, the eternal. And he made sure people understood, no, on the other side of the coin is Leela, play. This is God's divine play. And he played, and we saw it in his own life, or his disciples saw it in his own life. But what is required for a guru? Because this word has gone into misrepute, if there's such a word, from the 1960s onwards. Because people have come declaring their guru. Ramakrishna himself didn't like the word. You see, supposing I go to India, let's say, and I visit 12 temples, and I see God in each one, I can't come back and say, in answer to your question, how did your trip go? Oh, it was great. I got 12 new disciples. If I see God in everybody, in every person, in every place, in every event, it's not the view that I have better or new disciples. No, only God stands there. And it is that attitude of seeing and perceiving that divinity in everyone and everywhere that has a transformational capacity. So that anybody in such a person's area is beneficiary of the aura that they produce. They are truly a light that enlightens others. So there are some certain conditions set out in the Mundaka Upanishad, Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, also Shankaracharya's Viveka Shuddhamani. What should a guru look like? Well, they have to be Shrutriya. They have to be conversant with the scriptures. But the purport of that is, because the scriptures are all universal, that they will apply themselves or apply their teaching to all types of minds and not cut us adrift from our own traditions. And that's what he experienced. Sri Ramakrishna experienced every single avenue of spiritual development and sadhana, spiritual practice, incorporating with a great insight and foresight, incorporating Islam, incorporating Christianity. because the universe, the need for universality and understanding is not just a need that we require today, it's a need that is required for all time, everywhere. And so that has to be acknowledged. And so to portray the truth in a digestible form for everybody, meaning every individual temperament, as well as every individual culture, takes great skill, but more importantly, takes some qualities of purity, selflessness. And so that is the second requirement. Brahmanishtam. The person has to have an eye of love. They have to be a knower of Brahman, or at least they have to be close to Brahman, so that at some point nearness becomes oneness, and that they experience. And Jesus said, you cannot hide your light under a bushel or a bed. If you have a light, it's there for everybody to see. And it is as if Ramakrishna himself said, if the lotus is in full bloom, bees will come. Bees will come from themselves, by themselves, automatically, they'll be attracted to such an entity. In our garden outside, the communal garden, we say it's our garden, it belongs to the community. But we've planted flowers there and roses there and so on. And devotees have done it. And it is such a delight. I thought it was should be so wild and overgrown. People should come and weed the garden. But now I'm of a different opinion, because the number of bees that come and visit, and you can say, come and visit us. And you can think that devotees can be like that. Without devotees, there's no ashram. It's the devotees really that make the ashram. It is their thirst for God, their thirst for the truth, their urge toward freedom that comes and makes them attracted toward a guru. And what happens? There's a movement on the one side, a divine urge on the one side from a thirst, and a corresponding movement on the other side that we call guru. Do we always require a guru? No. Because in your spiritual development, what will you realize? You realize that your own mind is the guru. When you understand that intrinsically, essentially you, your guru, the scripture, and everything else is only that one thing, then the mind itself becomes the guru. Does everybody require a guru? Pretty much. What about Western people? Yes, it's still there. Every great saint had a guru. It's just they never called it guru. They called it spiritual director, or confessor is the normal kind of term that is applied. And then we require akamahatta, motivelessness, and also avrajin, stainlessness, simplicity, and the two really are the same thing. Not having any motive other than this, pure love. And so the guru is made from pure love. And then, of course, in the Bhagavad Gita, it is asked, Arjuna asks, you have talked about somebody who is of steady wisdom. They're not upset by anything. This is a true spiritual person, not prone to vicissitudes. It doesn't matter whether it's hot or cold, good or bad, no criticism there. Look at how Sri Ramakrishna never criticized anybody. When it came to drunkenness, for example, if he were to see some drunken person reeling, it would remind him of the very thing that he was experiencing, a reeling feeling of ecstasy, ecstatic state. And even he, slurring his words and behaving like a drunken person, would get down from the carriage and dance with them, arm in arm, probably much to the surprise or delight of the drunkard. Suresh, the disciple, Suresh Mitra, he was a drunkard. He imbibed in alcohol. This gives you an insight into the curious nature of this peculiar teacher, Ramakrishna. Ramchandra Datta said, I don't think you should drink anymore. Come, let's go to our teacher and he will tell you in no uncertain terms, you have to stop. Let's test it out. They went. And the condition was, we won't mention anything about the subject at all. And Ramakrishna, as if continuing a conversation, says, you should, every drink I'm paraphrasing, every drink that you have, alcoholic drink, please offer it to the Divine Mother as a sacramental liquid. And he was drawing on his own experience of the tantric sadhana and was able to use this. So Ramakrishna was a superb teacher because he was able to facilitate every part of his own experience in dealing with every different type of person. But here's the remarkable thing. He didn't shake a moral finger and say, don't drink. He said, please continue, but have a different understanding of it. Have a transformational attitude about it. Consider it to be something like a sacred thing. Only one condition. Don't overdrink. Don't get drunk. There's a lack of self-control. But take it as your sadhana, is what he was saying. And he managed to do that and experienced also the ecstatic aspect of spiritual drunkenness from that. There's a few excerpts that we have of how Sri Ramakrishna dealt with different types of people. And we also have to understand that if we take Sri Ramakrishna to be a divine incarnation, there is no better teacher than the incarnations, because all of the movements that are derived from these teachings are teachings. They're practical implementations of fundamental teachings that all these great teachers had. And why should we have specific teachings for this particular age? That's the question. And the answer is very clear, and the type of teaching is also clear. The first disciples that were attracted, apart from people in the Brahmo Samaj, two specific people came. And that was Ramchandra Datta and his cousin Manmohan Mitra. And they were intrigued by reports, and they came to see him. But you see, they were all skeptics, and that was wonderful. And his artless familiarity put them immediately at ease. They were charmed by the genuineness of the man and his country humor and his boyish directness. Imagine a teacher that is prepared to have you jump on him, wrestle with him, and all of these other kinds of things. And also be prepared to be abused and still be tolerant to be a teacher and be called all kinds of things by your own disciples and still laugh it off. The coming across somebody who, in answer to questions, did not quote from Sanskrit shlokas and scriptures, but from his own direct experience in a simple way with stories that irresistibly Swami Vivekananda had to repeat in his second lecture in the series of lectures at the Parliament of Religions in Chicago in 1893, Why We Disagree. And he's a short talk, and the whole talk is a story of the frog in the well, emulating his own teacher. A simple way, and everybody can understand it. Not only understand it, but they understand the logic of it as well. One of the questions that was asked by Ramchandra Datta was, does God really exist? We find this question everywhere today, in debates, particularly at university level, with the idea that maybe science and religion are direct opposites. It's nothing new, it was there. Does God exist? And listen to Sri Ramakrishna's answer. First of all, the point-blank directness delighted the master. And he replied with obvious relish, of course he exists. There's no uncertainty about it. Of course he exists. You don't see the stars during the daytime, but that doesn't mean that stars don't exist. There's butter in milk, but how could anyone guess that simply by looking at milk? So to get the butter, you have to churn the milk in a cool place, and to get the vision of God, you have to practice mental disciplines. You can't see him just by wishing. Today, in these great debates between agnosticism, atheism, and religion, these are all armchair philosophers on both sides. God exists, just believe it, blind faith. And on the other side, does God exist? I doubt it. We can't see it. We can't experiment. We can't put God in a test tube, see whether it's acid or alkaline. So therefore, it doesn't exist. Where's your evidence? But my dear fellow, if you take it in a scientific way, here are all the methods. Here are all the experiments you have to do called discipline, spiritual discipline. Please do them. And then after that, you can make your declaration. But don't just sit in your armchair. There's one particular atheist, well known for his stance in neo-atheism. Peter Atkins is his name, I think. He's a chemist, former chemist from Oxford University. And he says, oh, religion, God did it. That's a lazy way. Well, yes, it is if you put it in that way. But it's far from lazy if you are doing the discipline. And also, it's height of laziness to sit in your armchair and say, God does not exist. So these are some issues which are there. So the straightforwardness of this person and varying his message in such a way that it is digestible to everybody. Ramchandra Datta also became jealous and he decided he won't see Ramakrishna anymore. And Ramakrishna sent messengers all over the place to try and look for him. And what became of that? Ultimately, Ramchandra was by the river Ganga and thought how dear the Ganga was to the master. And then he had a kind of vision. He thought Ramakrishna is here somehow. And there, sure enough, he was there in the boat and the master had been looking for him everywhere. See what a motherly attitude, pure and sheer love. But time doesn't permit me to go into this subject in greater detail. But just to summarize, that he wasn't also just all kind and sweetness. He said a good guru is like a doctor. There are 4 kinds of doctors, but a really good doctor will force medicine down your throat. And he also managed to do this. His sweetest disciple, Rakal. Rakal, he said, he begged, please give me samadhi, please give me samadhi. And he was rubbing his feet. And Ramakrishna got annoyed. Don't ask me like a child for samadhi. And Rakal smashes the oil bottle and runs away. But he can't go beyond the compound. Something's holding him back. Ramakrishna sends, please bring him back. And he said, oh, you see, you couldn't go beyond the border. This was Ramakrishna's great potency, great power, the capacity to see the way somebody walks, the way somebody talks, the way their body moves, the phonology of their face. He could read and understand not only their character, but also their history, and could adapt his message to suit. And therefore, he could transform somebody by a look, by a touch. This was the potency of Sri Ramakrishna. No other teacher is like him. No other teacher has been like him. And who knows, maybe no other teacher will be in the future. Or, of course, from age to age, he will come. How does a person of steady wisdom, says Arjun, walk? How does he talk? How does he sit? We need to study the life of Sri Ramakrishna and try and imitate and emulate him. And I'll finish off with this since the time is gone. But I'll always remember my own sannyas guru who was a disciple of Mahapurush Maharaj. And he said, the reason why I'm walking so carefully down this staircase, my guru used to do that. And you could see how he would emulate every movement of his own guru. And you have to examine, as Sri Ramakrishna said, the guru's life. Like the money changers, he wasn't afraid of that. Many, many instances we could mention of the way in which he taught, the unconventional influence he had. But there's no doubt this great guru has had this influence all these years later to this present day. So Jai Sri Guru Maharaj Ki Jai.
17, page 21. Page 21. 17, page 21. Now we will sing Manasa Bhajani Guru Charanam, page 90, hymn 15.
Manasa Bhajani Guru Charanam, Manasa Bhajani Guru Charanam, Dustara Bhavasagar Charanam, Manasa Bhajani Guru Charanam, Manasa Bhajani Guru Charanam, Dustara Bhavasagar Charanam, Guru Maharaj, Guru Jai Jai, Guru Maharaj, Guru Jai Jai, Parabrahma Sadguru Jai Jai, Manasa Bhajani Guru Charanam, Manasa Bhajani Guru Charanam, Dustara Bhavasagar Charanam, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Shivaya Namaha, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Shivaya Namaha, Manasa Bhajani Guru Charanam, Manasa Bhajani Guru Charanam, Dustara Bhavasagar Charanam, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva, Aruna Shiva, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva, Aruna Shiva, Manasa Bhajani Guru Charanam, Manasa Bhajani Guru Charanam, Dustara Bhavasagar Charanam, Om Karom Bhaja, Om Karom Bhaja, Om Karom Bhaja, Om Namadeva, Om Karom Bhaja, Om Karom Bhaja, Om Karom Bhaja, Om Namadeva, Manasa Bhajani Guru Charanam, Manasa Bhajani Guru Charanam, Dustara Bhavasagar Charanam, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Shivaya Namaha, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva, Aruna Shiva, Om Karom Bhaja, Om Karom Bhaja, Om Karom Bhaja, Om Namadeva, Manasa Bhajani Guru Charanam, Manasa Bhajani Guru Charanam, Dustara Bhavasagar Charanam, Dustara Bhavasagar Charanam, Guru Maharaj, Guru Jai Jai, Guru Maharaj, Guru Jai Jai, Parabrahma Sadguru Jai Jai, Manasa Bhajani Guru Charanam,
We now have Jean McGuiness giving us a talk on Holy Mother as the Guru. Over to you, Jean.
When I'm Swami Vimokshananda, when I'm Swami Purnananda, and everyone, I bow to the divine Guru who imparts to the disciple the fire of self-knowledge and burns away the bonds of karma accumulated through many births. The life of Holy Mother as Guru. According to Indian religious tradition, an avatar or divine incarnation does not come alone. He comes with his Shakti, his female counterpart, as well as a group of great souls who will propagate his message. Ramachandra came with Sita, Krishna with Radha, Buddha with Yashodhara, and Ramakrishna with Sharada. The divine power does not become fully manifest in the Guru until his or her raw ego is completely wiped out. A human Guru is a knower of God, and an illumined soul plays a vital role in spiritual life. The Kaha Upanishad, however, warns about false prophets and self-styled gurus, saying, fools dwelling in darkness, but thinking themselves wise and erudite, go round and round by various tortuous paths, like the blind led by the blind. So the life of Holy Mother as Guru. Sri Ramakrishna passed on in 1886, and Sri Sarada lived for another 33 years. The first 11 years, from 1887 to 1898, she led a secluded life. The second 11 years, from 1898 to 1909, she initiated a few disciples. The third 11 years, 1909 to 1920, she initiated numerous men and women from all walks of life. Sri Ramakrishna transferred the results of his spiritual experiences to her and taught her various mantras, so she continued his ministry after his passing. Once Swami Saprakshananda said to Swami Shivananda, some receive initiation from Holy Mother and some from Maharaji, meaning Swami Brahmananda. Is there any difference, he asked? Swami Shivananda replied, I don't see any difference. The same Ganga water is coming through two faucets. The same grace of the Master is coming through Holy Mother and Maharaji. Holy Mother passed on great advice, guidance, and practical steps for us all in relation to purity of mind, in relation to dealing with desires, in relation to the importance of japa and meditation, the timing and regularity, how to recognize spiritual progress, and in dealing with life. Regarding purity of mind, she acknowledges the difficulty many of us have in achieving purity of mind, and thus the Holy Mother advises us not to puzzle the mind with too many inquiries. One finds it difficult to put one single thing into practice, but then we invite distraction by filling the mind with too many things. We are encouraged by her to practice meditation, and by, your mind will be so calm and fixed that you will find it difficult to keep away from meditation. Whenever the mind goes after anything other than God, consider that as transient and surrender the mind at the sacred feet of the Lord. The absolute necessity for a pure mind is further emphasized by her when she warns, when a man sees defects in others, his own mind gets polluted. What does he gain by finding faults in others? He only hurts himself by that. Clearly explaining the power of God's grace, she states, even the water, which has a natural tendency to flow downwards, is drawn up to the sky by the sun's rays. And in the same way, God's grace lifts up the mind, which has a tendency to run after sense objects. It is essential to perform spiritual practice in a secluded place. When a plant is young, fencing is necessary, but when it grows big, the cattle cannot do it any harm. So after some years of meditation, when the mind is formed, you can meditate anywhere and can associate with any types of person, and the mind will not be much affected. Again, Holy Mother concisely and clearly clarifies the importance of the purity of mind. She says, everything depends on one's mind. Nothing can be achieved without purity of mind. It is said, the aspirant might have received the grace of the Guru, the Lord, and his devotees, but he comes to grief without the grace of one. That one is mind. The mind of the aspirant must be gracious to him. And how do we deal with desires according to the Holy Mother? Her beautifully simple yet profound messages help us deal with desires and restrain our need to run after sense objects. The less you become attached to the world, the more you will enjoy peace of mind. As long as a man has desires, there will be no end to his transmigration. It is the desire alone that makes him take one body after another. Rebirth is inevitable, so long as one has desires. Reiterating and emphasizing the same message, she describes the clouds. Just as clouds are blown away by the wind, so the thirst for material pleasure will be driven away by the utterance of the Lord's name. From desire, this body comes into being. And just to remind ourselves why we need to strive to rid ourselves of desires, she says, when there is no desire at all, the body falls away. With complete cessation of desire, there comes the final end. Regarding the importance of japa and meditation, once again, we see here the ability of Holy Mother to impart truth and teaching in a way that is meaningful and relevant for us all, using references to the elements of everyday life. When she was asked, is there any use in repeating God's name if one did not have love for him? She said, if you fall into water, whether willingly or unwillingly, your cloth will get wet all the same, will it not? You must do japa wholeheartedly. Then only can you deserve his grace. God's grace is shared on all, just as the sun's light is for all. So then asked an aspirant, what is the use of spiritual practice? And she replied, foodstuffs are there. The one who will cook them earlier will eat earlier. The one who does not like to cook at all will go hungry. Past sins are countered by meditation, japa, and spiritual thought. Man becomes pure by repeating the mantra of God. Advice regarding timing and regularity. The following extract demonstrates clearly how easy it is for any one of us to fall victim to habits that are not conducive to spiritual growth and well-being. Holy Mother recounts when at Dakshineswar, she would get up at 3 o'clock in the morning to practice japa and meditation. She says, one day I felt a little indisposed and I left my bed rather late. The next day, I again woke up late through laziness. Gradually, I found that I did not feel inclined to get up early at all. Then I said to myself, at last, I have fallen victim to laziness. Thereupon, I began to force myself to get up early. Gradually, I got back into my former habit. In such manners, one should keep up the practice with unyielding resolution. As she says, no one knows when the auspicious moment will come. You must sit for meditation at least once in the morning and once in the evening. That will be like a helm to a boat. When one sits for meditation in the evening, there should be self-examination in respect of the works done in the course of the day. How to recognize spiritual progress. One disciple lamented about his lack of spiritual progress. Holy Mother replied in her own elegant and motherly manner, my son, suppose you are asleep on a cot, bed. and someone carries the cot with you on it to another place, would you immediately realize that you have been moved to another place? No, not at all. Only when your drowsiness clears up completely will you see that you have come to a new place. As you progress in your spiritual practice, you will see the same being in you as in me, and that he is in all men, be they of the lowest caste. Then you will acquire humility. Dealing with life, she says, ordinary human love results in misery. Love for God brings blessedness. Spiritual progress becomes easier if husband and wife agree in their view regarding spiritual practice. In expressing how to deal with the inevitable ups and downs of daily life, we are told, it is idle to expect that dangers and difficulties will not come. They are bound to come. But for a devotee, they will pass away under the feet like water. Sri Ramakrishna would be very particular in choosing a disciple, but the Holy Mother, prompted by her motherly heart, could hardly refuse anyone. She said, whenever you are in distress, say to yourself, I have a mother. These words of comfort have resonated with innumerable people, relieving their distress and easing their suffering. She was, in every sense, the loving mother of hundreds of children. On the deathbed of her youngest brother, she agreed to take care of his wife and the child she was expecting. The girl was affectionately known as Radu, and she became attached to Holy Mother. Holy Mother also appeared to regard Radu as the dearest object on earth. And I shall quote an extract. Regarding Radu, in return for the Holy Mother's constant affection, she had nothing sweet to offer. She was a troublesome girl. Holy Mother said to Radu, it is impossible, after Radu had given birth to a child and Holy Mother was still looking after him. She said, it is impossible for me to take care of you any longer. Can you tell me how I can possibly meet all your expenses? This was enough for Radu, who hurt the Holy Mother on the back by a violent throw of a brinjal, that's an aubergine, picked up from the vegetable basket. A swelling appeared on the spot immediately, and though bending her back in pain, the Holy Mother did an astounding thing. Instead of reproaching Radu for her conduct, she looked piteously at the Master's portrait and said with folded hands, Lord, please forgive her misdemeanor, for she is senseless. Then, putting on Radu's head the dust of her own feet by way of a blessing, she gave her a piece of her mind in the following words. Radu, the Master did not even once utter a word of remonstrance toward this body, and you afflict it so much. How can you understand where my place is? You think nothing of me because I live with you all. Thus, during the last 20 years of her life, the Holy Mother bore complacently the burden laid on her shoulders by her deceased brother. Of course, saner minds with more penetrating vision like Swami Purnananda and Swami Sharadananda and others were convinced that this inordinate affection for Radu served like a drag or pull to continue the Holy Mother's life on earth. For otherwise they felt it would not have been possible for her high-soaring, desireless mind to remain confined for long within the mortal body. When the day came 20 years later that Mother said she had no longer anything to do with Radu and that she had withdrawn her mind, it was recognized as an ominous sign. In response to a devotee who asked, what will happen to us hereafter, she replied, why do you fear? You have seen the Master. But I tell you one thing. If you want peace of mind, do not find fault with others. Rather, see your own fault. Learn to make the whole world your own. No one is a stranger, my child. This entire world is your own. We also see the strength of character of the Holy Mother in an example related to our dear sister Nivedita. Once Sister Nivedita offered cooked food to the master and brought it to Mother at Bag Bazaar in Calcutta. The mother ate that prasad with relish, but it created quite a stir among the women. They began to complain bitterly that this food was touched by a foreigner. But Mother did not flinch at that. She asserted clearly and without fear of contradiction, Nivedita is my daughter and has a right to offer cooked food to the master. I will accept without distinction and with the greatest joy whatever prasad she gives me. If anyone has an objection to that, let her keep it to herself. It was also with Mother's blessing that Swami Vivekananda felt ready to go to America. He said of her, even though our Mother seems to be as placid as a deep ocean, she is a great embodiment of spiritual power. Her coming has ushered in a new era of history. All the ideals she cultivated in her life and inspired others to imbibe were not for the spiritual liberation of Indian women alone, but for women of the entire world. In conclusion, I would like to read an extract from Swami Chaitananda's book, Sri Saradevi, Her Divine Play. Holy Mother's simple and pure life inspires us. Her modesty and humility overwhelm us. Her love and compassion conquer our hearts. Her struggle and suffering strengthen us to face all ordeal and crises of life. Her contentment and indifference to poverty makes us ashamed when we complain and become disgruntled over small things. Her forbearance and acceptance of various ailments, dysentery, malaria, rheumatism, and Kala-azar, encourage us to endure our illnesses silently. Her grace and forgiveness convey her divinity to us. Her truthfulness and steadiness convince us that we can rely on her. Her common sense and presence of mind show us how to be practical. Her unselfish service and complete self-surrender are models for our own lives. She demonstrated the highest truths of Vedanta in her daily life and harmoniously reconciled the contemplative life with the active life. The Mother's divine life is a beacon for lost and weary souls in this world. Her life and her message help the downtrodden and depressed, as well as those who have lost hope in trying to find meaning in life. Innumerable people are receiving peace and bliss, solace and succor from her simple life and practical teachings. Truly, while Ramakrishna's life was one of condensed spirituality that may be compared to the snow in the Himalayas, Holy Mother's life was one of flowing spirituality, like the water of the Ganga. Melted snow turns to water, but they are the same substance. One is solid, the other is liquid.
Thank you, Jean. That was beautiful. Our next guest today here, we have Swami Shantivratanananda ji. Pranam Maharaj. For everybody here, I would just like to introduce Swamiji as our next minister in charge, who would be coming over to Dublin in a short few months, because Swami Vimokshananda ji would be leaving us to go back to Belur soon. So Pranam Maharaj. Maharaj is Namaste. He's going to give us a talk on Swami Vivekananda as Guru. Over to you, Maharaj.
Namashri Yatirajaya Vivekananda Suraye Satchit Sukaswarupaya Swamine Tapaharine Akanda Mandalakaram Vyaptam Yena Characharam Tatpadam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. My reverential pranams on this sacred day for Revered Swami Vimokshananda Maharaj, and also my pranams to Swami Purnananda Maharaj, and my good wishes to all the devotees present there. Today, I'm supposed to speak on Swami Vivekananda as a Guru. The Guru is not a person, it is the power. It is the guiding light, all of us we know. With respect to Swami Vivekananda, he's a ocean, of course. He's like Himalaya, he's like a ocean. We can't understand him in a day or two. If we study or try to understand the personality of Swami Vivekananda as a Guru even, we'll be able to understand from different facets, from different angles, from different perspectives, we can study Swami Vivekananda as a Guru. Like for an example, as a spiritual awakening, he did for many people. And with respect to India especially, the national awakening was done by Swami Vivekananda. And scientific progression, lot of improvements in education or education philosophy, and science and technology, economic empowerment, or socialistic empowerment, all these things in all these fields, Swami Vivekananda, as a world teacher, he has contributed. But today, since it is a Guru Purnima, I will be confining myself, Swami Vivekananda as a Guru, with special reference to as a spiritual teacher, how he played his role as a Guru in his life. Quote, Swami Vivekananda's quotes on Guru, quote, "The Guru is the conveyance in which the spiritual influence is brought to you. Anyone can teach, but the spirit must be passed on by the Guru to the Shishya, and that will fructify." So the Guru is not mere preacher, rather he has to teach, or he has to pass that spirit from himself to the disciple. That's what Swami Vivekananda is saying. And this we can see very clearly in the life of Swami Vivekananda himself. As a itinerant monk, during his Parivrajaka days, he had come to Rajasthan. That is one of the state in India. In the Rajasthan, present state capital is Jaipur. Then it was a Jaipur country or Jaipur province. Their chief commander-in-chief, Sir Sardar Hari Singh, was the chief and commander of Jaipur state and army. He was believer in Vedanta. He was versatile in Vedanta. He was well-learned person. But at the same time, he had his own comments, negative comments on the idol worship. He never used to accept, he never used to believe in the idol worship, which is one of the tenet of Hinduism or Sanatana Dharma. One fine day, both of them were discussing for long hours why idol worship is required for any common being. It is not that it is mandatory, but it is required. And what is the science and what is the rationale behind this idol worship was explained by Swami Vivekananda for few of us. Unfortunately, Sardar Hari Singh was unable to comprehend, was unable to accept, or was unable to follow the Swami Vivekananda's arguments. After some time, there was a great sound, band sound. Then Sardar Hari Singh and Swami Vivekananda comes out from the palace and they try to see what was the sound. There was a procession, a small chariot carrying the image of Lord Sri Krishna. Seeing this, Sardar Hari Singh started laughing or just smiling. Swami Vivekananda just touched Sardar Hari Singh, and Hari Singh was able to see the Lord Krishna in the image livingly, and unknowingly Sardar Hari Singh just he prostrated there itself to the Lord Krishna. This reminds us in Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavan Sri Krishna tells to Arjuna that Divyam dadami te chakshuhu pashyame rupamaishwaram. I will give you the special eyes, inner eyes. I will try to awaken. I will awaken your inner eyes so that you can see my cosmic form. You can see my universal form, so that you can see my real form. You can see my Vishwarupa. So similarly, here Swami see the Lord Krishna in the image in a full form. Then onwards, Sardar Hari Singh became the great devotee of Sri Krishna, Lord Sri Krishna, and he also understood why this image worship, idol worship is required for the spiritual aspirant, and he stopped arguing with this connection. And one more we can see in the life of Swami Vivekananda as a Parivrajaka, who was Kidi, where Swami Vivekananda used to fondly call him. His real name is Singaravelu Mudaliyar. He was the assistant professor. He was the assistant professor in Madras. He's from Madras. He's an assistant professor, well-learned person at that time. At the same time, he was influenced by different theologies of different religions, and he was an atheist. Every time about Sanatana Dharma, he was a great critic and used to criticize Sanatana Dharma. And he came to know through his friends that a young monk has come from east part of the India. He is versatile in the Indian philosophy and the Western philosophy, literature, science, technology, so on and so forth. For him, it was very interesting. He thought, okay, let me see who is this young monk, and let me try to make him understand all this religion, philosophy, etc. probably is a nonsensical. As logical positivity says that metaphysics is meaningless or nonsensical. Then this Singaravelu Mudaliyar, or Swami Vivekananda used to fondly call him as a Kidi. Kidi went and sat, and he used to have a discussions with Swami Vivekananda also. One fine day, he was sitting in the group. Swami Vivekananda sang a Bengali song, I think, a Bengali song he sang, and line by line, he started explaining. Oh God, through your grace only, I can do anything or everything. With your grace, I can achieve anything and everything. The meaning goes like this. So after hearing that song sung by Swami Vivekananda was a great singer. Every one of us know he had a beautiful, mesmerized. So even Sri Ramakrishna used to mesmerize when Swami Vivekananda used to sing. Everyone was mesmerized. At the same time, Swami Vivekananda started saying, now I've got such a spiritual power, where after he's explaining the whole atmosphere was a grave atmosphere. Everyone was sitting calmly and silently, and their minds unknowingly, it has raised to the higher level. Then Swamiji continued his talk and said, now I've got so much spiritual power. I've gone to that stage. If someone comes and touches me, no lesser than Nirvikalpa Samadhi will be attained for such and such a person. Definitely will be liberated. Such type of utterances was said by Swamiji. Of course, in whole of his life, such utterances are rare indeed, but this is one of the occasions. The atheist assistant professor, Singaravelu Mudaliyar, just he got up from the crowd and he went and hold of the Swami Vivekananda feet. For everyone's astonishment, because he was an atheist, he was not believer of any god or religion, philosophy, spirituality, so on and so forth. Then for everyone's astonishment, he went and held the Swamiji's feet and he was crying. Swamiji touched his head and he said, Kidi, what did you do? But you have to bear it now. You don't have any other. Probably when we hear, it appears that like as it is a formula. So what happened afterwards? This Kidi's mind completely changed. He understood what is religion, what is philosophy, what is spirituality, why it is required, and what is the greatness of spirituality, what is the greatness of dharma. Then in no time, he renounced the world, he renounced his family life, he led an ascetic life. He used to take just one-time meal, always used to do practice meditations, japam, meditation, and he dedicated his complete life for Swamiji's work. Such a great change we could see in the Kiddi's life just by mere, because he caught hold of the feet of Swamiji, or because Swamiji blessed him. As already I told, Guru will transfer the spirit from the divine, as Swami Vivekananda said. So Swami Vivekananda's divine touch is changing the people's life. Swami Vivekananda himself, once he says in Belur Math, I think, that 3,000 to 4,000 people in the western part of the world I've initiated. So most of my energy I have spent there to raise their consciousness, to have the spiritual awakening among them. And one of his monastic disciple of Swami Vivekananda, the Western monastic disciple of Swami Vivekananda, Swami Krupananda, I think, he or she makes a statement or a comment. Do you think because Swami Vivekananda had a variety skills, Swami Vivekananda was genius, Swami Vivekananda was wise, Swami Vivekananda's variety skills were definitely wonderful, so we went and sat? Maybe few of us, maybe initially, yes, but every day, for every talk, most of us, why we went and sat to hear Swami Vivekananda's words? Because every time when we sat and heard Swami Vivekananda's words, more than his words, our mind used to rise to the higher level, so that we used to feel that we are that Aham Brahmasmi, I am that, I am that, I am that. We used to feel, and he continues saying that many times when we sat in that hall in the midst of the audience, and when we were listening to Swami Vivekananda's talk, we used to feel that our Kundalini Shakti used to rise. There was a sensation in the back of our body. So this was the experience of Swami Krupananda. Even Sister Devamata says in her reminiscences, when Swami Vivekananda used to speak in the way, it may be a very large audience, maybe few hundreds or maybe 1,000, everyone used to listen to Swami Vivekananda with the spellbound. We used to forget our time, we used to forget the time, we used to forget the place, and we used to forget the person who is sitting next to me, and we were hearing Swami Vivekananda's words, and our mind used to go such a heights where we used to forget anything and everything. Just we used to think about God or Atman or Brahman alone, nothing else, not lesser than this. This type of spiritual awakening was brought by Swami Vivekananda, whomever he met. The one was probably every one of us know, that is Emma Calvé. She was a great opera singer. I think she comes from France, French country or France. She comes from France, and she was in her pinnacle. She was a very famous singer all over the world. Thousands of people used to rush to listen to her singing. Unfortunately, during her mid-age, only one daughter she had, and the daughter passed away with unseen circumstances, unfortunately. That gave a rude shock to the Emma Calvé, and she thought, what is the use of this name and fame? What is the use of money? What is the use of all this property, since I have lost my only one lovely daughter? So let me enter my life also. So such type of mental agony was faced by Emma Calvé. But fortunately, as a luck, she came into contact with Swami Vivekananda. As a result, her mind got changed, and after in no time, just led the happiest life in her tenure of the life. That's why she says, truly, about Swami Vivekananda, Calvé says, truly walked with the God. He is a saint, he is a philosopher, and he was a true friend of me. His influence upon my spiritual life was profound. My soul bears eternal gratitude. Without him, I would have ended my life. This was the comments or reminiscences given by Calvé and Swami Vivekananda. The one more person story I will tell, and I will end my talk. The Rockefeller. He was a great industrialist or a business magnate. He had earned a lot of name and fame, power, position, crores of rupees or millions of rupees he has earned. At the same time, his health was not good. He came to that in such a bad, his health condition was such a bad, where he was supposed to drink only milk, nothing else. And he had a lot of health issues. There was a comment in his life that his health was he had such a bad condition with respect to health. When he used to walk, people used to feel that there's a dead body is moving, the dead body or the mummy is a walking. Such a bad physique he had at that time, but he was a millionaire. He himself had a very negative feeling about his life. I have got anything and everything except my health. What is the use of such a life? But because he had a name and fame, because he had a power, he had a position, he had a money and all, somehow he was trying to lead the life. And he also heard about Swami Vivekananda from his friends. Some of his friends pestered Rockefeller that please come and meet this great monk who comes from India. And this Rockefeller was not interested either in religion or spirituality or with his monks and etc. So he very politely he denied. And his friends, number of times his friends pestered him, please come and see, he's a great person, he's a great person, he's a great person. One fine day, he thought, okay, let me see, because my friends are requesting so much, let me see this Swami Vivekananda and come back. This will be this will be end, so that our friends will not pester no more. And so Rockefeller came and just he went to the drawing room where Swami Vivekananda was studying and was writing something. Rockefeller was very egoistic. He was very egoistic. So he thought, because he's a millionaire, he's a great business magnate and industrialist, as soon as he goes, Swami Vivekananda gets up and he welcomes him. He nicely, politely, he speaks, and he recognizes his presence. He recognizes his personality. He recognizes his achievements. This was the understanding, or this was the thinking, or this was the thoughts. These are the thoughts were going on in the Rockefeller's mind. But for his astonishment, Rockefeller went there. Swami Vivekananda didn't observe. He was engrossed in the studies, and for some time it went. After some time, Swami Vivekananda, without raising his head, he started telling the dark secrets of Rockefeller. Even his family friends, his closest friends, none of the people in this world, in this mundane world, were aware of this except Rockefeller. And Swamiji was started telling all his secret things. These all things you have done and all. And he says finally that you are a trustee, be a trustee, not a owner of wealth. Be a trustee, not a owner of wealth. Then Rockefeller was dumbfounded. Then he asked, what do you mean by that? You have got crores of rupees. No, you got millions of rupees, millions of dollars. Just spend that for the upliftment of the country people. Then Rockefeller felt very infuriated. Who is this person? Who the hell are you to tell me what to do and what not to do? So he was very furious. Just he went out and shut the door and he went out. After some days, he felt somehow. Then large amount of charity he did, and Rockefeller Foundation was started, and large amount of money was put in this Rockefeller Foundation. After a week or so, he came. This time Rockefeller was thinking that, okay, this time Swami will recognize me, he will acknowledge me, whatever I have done. Then when he said, okay, whatever you said I have done, now at least you should thank me. When he said, for his astonishment, Swami Vivekananda says that you should thank me because I gave an opportunity for you to use your money in the right way. And again, this was a rude shot. Slowly afterwards, Rockefeller understood Swami Vivekananda's ideas, Swami Vivekananda's views, Swami Vivekananda's personality, and he also became the follower of Swami Vivekananda. No, this is all fine. After this, what was the effect on Rockefeller? For all of our astonishment, the moment he started giving, the moment he started helping the people, he understood that there is a greater happiness than the accumulation of the world. For example, I earn crores of rupees, I earn millions of rupees, I get a lot of happiness, no doubt. But when I spend that amount for the needy people, for the worthy people, the amount of happiness, the amount of contentment, whatever I get, that is much more, 10 times more, he understood. And he started doing a lot of charity, and he started giving a lot of donations to the needy people, worthy people, and for universities, and so on and so forth. As a result, he was a contented person. 10 times, 100 times, he was the happiest person than before. And his health also improved until at the age of 97, Rockefeller was able to live with contentment, with full of happiness and bliss. So Swami Vivekananda changed people, their character, their behavior, their attitude, their thinking, because himself is the savior of the world. And because Sri Ramakrishna himself said, Naren lok shikha dibe, means Naren will teach the world. Swami Vivekananda he was at the young chap of the 22 or 23 years, and Naren was not known for anyone in the entire world. Even world forget the country, even the Calcutta also. No one knew Naren or Vivekananda. At the time, Sri Ramakrishna told that Naren will teach the world. This we can see very clearly in the life of Swami Vivekananda. He raised thousands of people to the higher spiritualities, to the higher conscious, and they got moksha or emancipation, and their attitudes were set all right, and they dedicated their life for the helping the poor, helping the needy, helping the worthy people, etc. because there is there is a lack of time. Otherwise, I would have taken even the examples of Sister Nivedita. Many, many thanks for patient listening, and my humble pranams to Revered Swami Vimokshananda Maharaj. Thank you.
Thank you, Maharaj. That was really very nice. We now have a presentation by little children, Balagokulam of Sanatan, Ireland. So they have got a presentation, they have done up a program for celebrating Guru Purnima.
Anirban, sound testing, 1, 2, 3. Can you hear me? 1, 2, 3. Yeah.
We can hear you.
No, we don't need to see here. You're going to be viewing. No, this is not needed for this. Otherwise, people in Zoom cannot see the children actually. The faces will be dark.
So that is the space. So you face the camera and you they need to stand for it, isn't it? Yes, facing the camera, facing the laptop. So you make sure you be visible in the camera there. Okay?
Yeah. You have to see yourself.
Yeah. Same like we do the Zoom. Exactly. And who is leading the sloka and the sloka. The person who is doing standing there can stand and change. The rest of us will join in with the chorus, okay? And those who are talking, they can do the speech, the little talk, the black one. And usually when you talk, we may stay in the background. And whenever they finish, you come and announce what you need to announce, and we just move on to the background. Okay? That's okay? Yeah.
Make sure you're visible on this laptop. Don't look at that. Okay? You're looking at the laptop.
Make sure you're seen in the laptop. Yeah, I think that's good. Very good stand. But it's how she's specifically not on that laptop.
Namaste, Namaskaram and Vandanam. Om Sri Guru Vandana. On this auspicious day, on behalf of Sanatana, Ireland, Balagokulam, it gives us the immense pleasure to welcome you all on this much-awaited Guru Purnima day. Thank you, Éire Vedanta Society, for providing us this opportunity to perform in the presence of respected Swamijis. Today, we all are assembled here to acknowledge the contribution of our Gurus. None can deny that Mother gives us birth, but our Guru gives us a successful life and helps us to achieve the purpose of our birth. Let's now move on and make this day a memorable moment for everyone. We are going to start the program by Ganesha Vandana by Adya.
Gajananam Bhutagana Sevitam Kavitrajambo Palasa Prabhakshitam Umasutam Soka Vinashakaranam Namami Vigneshwara Padapankajam.
It was cute and wonderful reciting from Adya. Now, I would call Ameya for Guru's Stotra.
Guru Deva Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tatsmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Jnana Moolam Gurur Murtir, Puja Moolam Gurur Padam, Mantra Moolam Gurur Vakyam, Moksha Moolam Gurur Kripa.
It was a divine chanting by Ameya. Now, I would ask Abhinav.
Sadashiva Samarambha, Shankaracharya Madhyama, Taskaracharya Madhyandam, Vande Guru Parampara, Smriti Purananam, Alayam Karunalayam, Namami Bhagavadparam, Shankaram Loka Shankaram, Shankaram Shankaracharyam, Keshavam Bhadarayanam, Putra Bhashakirno Vande, Bhagavando Punah Punah, Ishwara Guru Asmedi, Moiti Veda Vimagini, Yogamabhyakta Dehaya, Dakshinamurte Namaha.
For the second and heartfelt performance. Now I will call Ameya and Rishika for Guru's Stotra.
Akanda Mandala Kadam Yatam Yena Characharam Tattadam Darshitam Yena Tatsmai Sri Gurave Namaha Ajnana Timidanasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunimilitam Yena Tatsmai Sri Gurave Namaha Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Samaram Jangamam Yakam, Yankinkin Sajaracharam, Tattadam Darshitam Yena, Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Chinmayam Vyapiyat Sarvam, Trailokyam Sajaracharam, Tattadam Darshitam Yena, तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः सर्वश्रुतिशिरोरत्नं विराजितपदाम्बुज वेदान्ताम्बुजसूर्योय तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः धन्या शाश्वता शान्तो व्योमातीतो निरञ्जना इन्दुनादामृतातीता तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः ज्ञानशक्ति समारूढः तत्त्वमाला विभूषितः बुद्धिमुक्तिप्रदानाय तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः अनेकजन्म सम्प्राता कर्मबन्धविदाहिनी आत्मज्ञानप्रदानेन तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः शोषणं भवसिन्धो च ज्ञापनं सारसम्पदः गुरुपादोकसंज्ञक तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः गुरुरादरितं तत्त्वं गुरुरारतितं तत्त्वः तत्त्वज्ञानं परं नास्ति तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः मन्नाथ श्री जगन्नाथ मद्गुरु श्री जगद्गुरुः मादात्म सर्वभूतात्मा तस्मै श्री गुरुवे नमः गुरुरादिरनादिश्च गुरु परमदैवतं गुरु परतरं नास्ति तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः त्वमेव माता च पिता त्वमेव त्वमेव बन्धुश्च सखा त्वमेव त्वमेव विद्या द्रविणं त्वमेव त्वमेव सर्वं मम देव देव त्वमेव सर्वं मम देव देव. Thank you. Now let's call Krish for Guru Darshan. Now let's call upon Advaita Mohan for performing a skit on Guru and Shishya. Advait as Sri Ramakrishna and Rohan as Swami Vivekananda.
Namaste everyone. Om Sri Guru Vandana. On this auspicious day of Guru Purnima, we would like to present a few anecdotes and incidents that happened between Sri Ramakrishna and Swami Vivekananda. In the city of Kolkata, Narendranath Datta wandered from place to place in search of religion. Everywhere we asked the lecturer, after listening to a very long lecture,
Sir, have you seen God? Sir, have you seen God? Sir, have you seen God?
The lecturer was taken aback at the idea of seeing God. The only man who said that he had seen God was Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa.
Sir, have you seen God?
Yes, I have seen God. More clearly than I see you now. And I will put you on the way of seeing him too.
Vivekananda was so impressed with this meeting that he started visiting Sri Ramakrishna daily. Impressed by his singing talent, Sri Ramakrishna invited Naveen to Dakshineshwar. Narendra accepted the invitation and went to Dakshineshwar to meet Sri Ramakrishna.
চলো নিজ নিকেতনে মন চলো নিজ নিকেতনে সংসার বিদেশে বিদেশীর বেশে ভ্রম কেন অকারণে মন চলো নিজ নিকেতনে বিষয় পঞ্চক আর বিষয় পঞ্চক আর ভূতগণ সব তোর পর কেউ নয় আপন পর প্রেমে কেন হয়ে অচেতন ভুলিছে আপন
After Swami Vivekananda finishes his song, Sri Ramakrishna gets up and taking Vivekananda by hand, leads him to the northern veranda. I know, you are Nararupin Narayan, Nararupin Narayan. Now, let's see an interesting event that brings out the essence of the religion.
In the month of Badhur, it's a rain heaven. In the month of Bhajan,
No.
We were able to hear them well. Suddenly,
Okay, start from this. Now let's see an interesting event that brings out the essence of a religion.
Okay, go to the table and pick up a book. No, that book. Ah, that book. Now, read out the weather forecast.
In the month of Badpur, it will rain heavily.
Hmm.
In the month of Magda, it will bring prosperity to all.
Hmm. Now, take the book and squeeze it.
What?
Take the book and squeeze it. Ah. Why, my boy? Not a drop of water comes out? Until the water comes out, it is just a book. Until your religion makes you realize God, it is useless. A man who studies books for religion reminds one of the fable of the donkey who carried a pile of sugar on its back, but did not know the sweetness of it.
Sri Ramakrishna was the only person who ever since he met me believed in me uniformly throughout. Even my own mother and brothers did not do so. It was the unflinching trust in me and love that bound me to him forever.
Thus, Swami Ramakrishna and Swami Vivekananda remain as an embodiment of compassion and an epitome of surrender. Let's all surrender at the holy feet of our respected gurus. Om Sri Guru Vandana. Thank you.
Now, I would like to call upon Pranav to take us to the topic, how can we see Guru in nature?
Namaste everyone. Pranams and prostrations to our beloved Swamiji. Who is a Guru? In Sanskrit, Guru means dispeller of darkness. Traditionally, a Guru is a reverential figure who teaches and guides the disciples in every aspect of worldly life and beyond. A guru helps the disciple mold values, shares the experiential knowledge as much as the literal knowledge, is an exemplar in life, an inspirational source, and who helps in the spiritual evolution of a student. Along those lines, our Mother Nature is also a great teacher. On this Guru Purnima day, let's take a few minutes to understand the significant lessons we can learn from her. First, we have Arya representing the sun. The sun is the source of life for all living beings. It provides life, giving light, heat, and energy to earth. The sun never gets tired and performs its duty every day without complaint. The sun is unbiased, independent, and self. Similarly, a guru showers his love and blessings to everyone equally, never fails from his duty, and selflessly works without constraint. It's only through Guru's grace the inner sun can be realized. Om Shri Suryaya Namaha. Om Shri Guru Vandana. Next, we have a Maya representing the trees. Just like a tree, a guru is very selfless. A tree gives us oxygen, fruits, and when the tree dies, it gives us wood. Useful for many things. A guru spreads their knowledge through their schools and helps them grow throughout their life. Lastly, we have Janu representing the earth. Hello everyone. I would like to say a few words about our Earth is also good. Earth is portrayed as a mother for a kind-hearted nature. Guru is also kind-hearted mother who is loved and protects his children. Mother gives us so many gifts, trees, and water, soil. But humans are destroying the nature very badly. But the mother forgives our mistakes and still love all the creatures in the world. Same with Guru is gifted as knowledge, guidance, love, and care. Also forgive our mistakes and bring us into the right God. Guru is everything in our eternal life. Nothing would possible without him. Life with some power to push up us. The Guru is the superpower. Today is the day to thank our Guru. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Hope we all can remind ourselves of the great teaching from Mother Nature and follow them in our life always. Thank you. Before conclude, we would like to invite the respected Swamijis to kindly come to the dais and accept our token of love, gratitude, and respect. Please come, all of you go. It's on the
Facing the camera. Yeah, all of you face this way. Chichi, you make it do it. No, sit on back. So, otherwise you're blocking Chichi. Yes, Rajiv, all of you. Someone can sit on these up and down.
Can you kneel on?
You cannot kneel down.
No,
not
on your
kneel.
Yes.
Oh. It's not the children.
Okay.
It's fine. It's fine. Children, sorry. All of you look here and bring out your best smile if you have it. Okay, now forgotten it at home. Can't see you. Smile, best smile. Oh, they are giving claps.
Children, hold on, Adya. Adya, Ameya, come. Oh, so sweet. Face come. Yeah, face come.
Okay.
Come this side.
Yes.
Anyone hold this? Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Deva Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Come on.
Just hold it, just for the info.
A small token of our appreciation for the Swamiji who have really been so accommodating. And the children and parents alike, they have really benefited such a lot and they have enjoyed each and every minute of Swamiji's sessions. And thank you so much for being there.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Also is not related.
Oh,
No.
we really enjoyed it.
Yes.
Both of us
Then only
take
you
back.
take the serve.
Yeah.
So you all come and take your seats.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can you move this camera a little? so that myself and children. Yes. Yes, yes. And sit here. You can move this way. You can show the language. They can't hear us. Slowly, like that. You keep me in the corner. Yes. Chica, shift to the other side. Go, Chica. Come to this side. Sorry. Good, good. You won't be seen again. Yes, good. Hey, come here. Come forward. Come sit here. Yeah. Sit. Yes. So let me start. So how do we start our class? Every time we put our palms together and then chant one mantra. What is the mantra we chant? Yes. Say, Om. Say, Kanda Mandalakari Yatam Yena Characharam Tat Padam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Very good. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramakrishna. So today is a very important day for us, is it not? That's why we all have come here. Where have we come? Do you know the name of this place? Tell me. Ashram, but what is the name of that? Yes, tell me. Nivedita? Nivedita's house. So Nivedita house is the name of this place. So here we have come. So we are celebrating today one big event. What is that event we are celebrating? Guru Purnima? Are you sure? You are okay, sure. So Guru Purnima. So who is the Guru? The first Guru, do you know who is the first Guru? Who? Ram. No, the first Guru. Long back. No, long back. Millions of years back. The very first Guru was Lord Shiva. Then Lord Shiva transfers his knowledge to Lord Vishnu. Then Lord Vishnu gives the knowledge to Lord Brahma. Now these are the three holy divinities in Hinduism. And then that Lord Vishnu, who is in between, one said Lord Shiva, another said Brahma. He takes a human form like us. So he came into this world and his name was Vyasa. So he is called Vyasa Rishi. He became a great Rishi. Have you heard about this Rishi? In the stories, many times I have told you, one Rishi came, he talked to some people like that. So Vishwamitra Rishi you have heard, Agastya Rishi you have heard, is it not? So there are so many Rishis names you have heard. So one such oldest Rishi is the Rishi Vyasa. So Vyasa came as a Rishi. And then he saw the knowledge of God is called Vedas. It is lying everywhere with so many people. And it is not brought into a place. So what he did was, he collected all the knowledge of God, called Vedas, and made it into 4 parts. Anybody knows the names of the 4 parts of Vedas? Yes? The first one. Rig Veda. Second, Samaveda, correct? Yajurveda. Atharva Veda. Very good, very good. Give your clap. All the 4 Vedas names you know. So you all must remember that. So the Vedas is nothing but it is a knowledge of God. And the knowledge of God was divided into 4 parts. Just like Adya said, Rig Veda, Yajurveda, Samaveda, Atharvaveda. And then people saw that people will understand them. So a lot of intellectual people are there. They can read, write, etc. So for them, he wrote one scripture. And that scripture is called Brahma Sutras in 1 line. one-line sutras he created. And then he found there are many, many thousands of people out there who don't understand that. There are millions of people out there. If you tell a story, they will understand. If you tell a philosophy, they can't understand. But if you tell a story and the philosophy together, then they understand story as also philosophy. That's why in Ramakrishna's teaching, you see, in every teaching, Ramakrishna brings out a story. It's called parables. Story is the important thing. So he wanted to bring out the stories along with the philosophy. So philosophy must be there. To understand the philosophy, he requires stories. So he wrote 18 Mahapuranas. They are called Purana. Mahapurana, they are called 18 Mahapuranas. And 18 Mahapuranas are huge. Each Puranas are like big book. Now you can see 18 Mahapuranas he wrote. And finally, he wrote one beautiful book on Lord Sri Krishna. And that is called Srimad Bhagavatam. After that, he became completely satisfied Rishi. He became a great Rishi. And then all the other Rishis came and told him, see, the world is going to dogs. You see how many bad things are happening in the world. So how to correct the world? So you have to tell the bad things in the society and you have to give you a method how to overcome the bad things in the society. So you must tell us some stories. Then Vyasa started meditating and he got up a story now. Beautiful story. And such a big story it is. And he was overwhelmed. He wanted to tell that. And who is going to write the story? When he is dictating, there was nobody equal to the speed of his telling. Because Vyasadeva telling very speed, high speed. So nobody could write. Then Brahma said, hey Vyasadeva, go to Ganesha and catch him. Ganesha can catch any type of speed and he can write. So catch him, sir. So Vyasadeva went and made pranam to Ganesha. Do you know Ganesha mantra? Gajananam bhuta ganadi sevitam. Tell someone. You say loudly. Say loudly. Sevitam. Uchitam. Sutam. Vigneshwara Pada Pankajam. Yes, very good. So give her a clap. Before doing starting anything. So he went to Lord Ganesha. I told Lord Ganesha, I have got a big story, but there is no one to write. Can you come and write down? So Ganesha looked at him and said, okay, I will write your story, but on condition. The condition is you cannot stop. You must say continuously. You say, now I am stopping for 1 second. Isn't it? I am giving a pause. You cannot give pause. You must tell continuously, then I can write. Then Vyasadeva thought, how can I say continuously? Even you don't take even water. And then continuously, how can you say? And it's such a big one, to tell itself, it will take some months. And how can you, without food, without going to toilet, how can you continuously say? Then he made a condition to Ganesha. Okay, Lord Ganesha, I accept your condition, but you must accept my condition now. Then Ganesha said, oh, you are putting a condition to me. Okay, tell me, what condition you are want said? My condition is, when I tell anything, without understanding, you will not write. You understand clearly, then you write. And Ganesha said, okay, it's very easy. For Ganesha, I know nothing is big. He said, okay, I can understand everything. Okay, you tell. Like that Ganesha said. And then Vyasa started telling. And that became so big, it is called Mahabharatam. And that Mahabharatam, he started telling. But then he has to go and take water. He has to go to the toilet. Then what he would do, at that time, he will tell a very, very difficult sloka. And Ganesha was writing, and for writing, he didn't have pen. You all use pen, isn't it, for writing? What Ganesha used, for pen? Yes, what is that?
Quill.
No, what is it? Quill? Who gave him that? In Ganesha picture, you will see one great thing. He has got
tusk.
Tusk, yes. So one tusk he broke. And with that, he started writing on the palmyra leaf. You know, you don't require, on palmyra leaf, you don't require any ink. You can just put like stress like that, so it will take the form. So he started writing. And then Vyasa is a great man, you know. Vyasa Vishala Buddhe, like that they say. Vyasa has got a great brain and great intelligence. So he wrote some very, very difficult shloka. Then, while writing, and you know, he broke one of his stars, and then he started writing. And then, when such a difficult shloka comes, then Lord Ganesha takes this, and then he puts it on his, like this is putting. And then, what is the meaning? What does Vyasa means that? And he's thinking, that thinking itself takes 2 days. So Vyasa went and had a nice bath, etc. And nice food, etc. And then he came back. And then he said, oh, next. Can he said next? He said. So by that time, Ganesha understood. Then he said, okay, go ahead. So like that they were writing. Whole Mahabharata was written. Mahabharata has got an original name. What is the name of original Mahabharata? Yes? No, original name of Mahabharata? Huh? Very good. Give him a clap. Even elders do not know. Advaita knows, you see. Even elderly, I don't know whether, I don't want to put down the teachers here. All the teachers must know. Yes, its name is Jaya. Only 2 letters, Jaya. But later it was called Mahabharatam. It's because huge it is, that's why Maha is used. Maha means what? Great, grand. That is called Maha. So Mahabharatam, the grand Bharata story. So that story contains one great important character who was very good in bow and arrow. Yes? Arjuna, give him a clap. Arjuna had many gurus, of course. His guru, you know, that Kripacharya was there, Dronacharya was there, like that many gurus were there, but who taught him how to use arrows and bows, etc. But there was one guru for Arjuna who taught him spiritual knowledge. One guru. He is called Jagat Guru. The Jagat Guru came in his life and taught him spiritual knowledge, which nobody has taught him so far. Who is the Jagat Guru? Who came to Arjuna? Yes? Very good. Krishna is the Jagat Guru. Vande Jagat Guru, he said. So that Jagat Guru, that means he is Guru for the entire universe. Lord Krishna is the Guru of all of us. So he came and then he taught Arjuna one important science. It is called Brahma Vidya. And that is called what you said earlier, Srimad Bhagavad Gita. So Bhagavad Gita is conversation, talks between Arjuna and Krishna. Arjuna put questions, Krishna answers it. So that's such a big story was there. But this Vyasa, he had a son. He had his wife and had a son. And the son's name, anybody can say, who became very great, popular in India. Today in the Puja time, we gave one flower to him also. Vyasdev had a son who became very famous.
Parishit?
No, Parishit was a lucky. No, Sukadev, Sukabrahma. So Sukadev was his son, and Sukha became great man. Why? Even before his birth, Sukha Maharishi, correct. So Sukha was there. Sukha was like a parrot, you know. Earlier birth he was a parrot, and then he took a human form. So that's why his name is called Sukha. Sukha means parrot, who repeats. So Sukha starts telling a story of Lord Narayana, and that is called Bhagavatam. His father only wrote that, but the Sukha comes into that story also, and he tells how to conquer the death. That is the story of Bhagavatam. Now, Sukha is his disciple, and he has got other disciples also. Lot of disciples came. One of the disciples who came in his line was the great Adi Shankara. Have you heard about Adi Shankara? Yes. Where was he born? Very famous place in India, in South India. I can wait to see others. Adi Shankara was born in South India. I'll give you a clue. He was born in Kerala.
Just to do with your leg.
You know? Okay, you say. Kaladi, very good. Kaladi is the place where Adi Shankara was born. He came in the lineage of whom? Vyasa Maharishi. So Vyasa Maharishi is the first person who became a human guru to all. So his birthday is celebrated as Guru Purnima. So why we are celebrating today? Because it is his birthday. Like Krishna's birthday, we celebrate as Janmashtami. Ram's birthday, we celebrate as Ram Navami. Likewise, Vyasadev's birthday is celebrated as Guru Purnima. So today we are happy here and we think about the lot of gurus. So many gurus have come after that. Many gurus are there. And each guru is nothing but the Lord Vishnu who comes in the form of guru. So we must respect every guru. Never speak ill of any guru. Your guru may be different, my guru may be different. But that doesn't matter. We both will say our gurus are great. Okay? So no guru should be talked ill of. That's all. So with this idea, the Guru Purnima has come and we are very happy that Balagokulam children and teachers have come here. And today I thank on behalf of Éire Vedanta Society, the authorities of the Balagokulam also for giving us that they said, of course, humble donation. And donation every time they give to the ashram. So today also they are given. So may the blessings of all the gurus be on all of us. Okay? Shanti, Shanti, Hari Om Prasad, Sri Ramakrishna. Yes. So over to Rai Kamal.
Thank you, Swamiji. Thank you to the children. That was a wonderful performance, and also Maharaj for your talk there. We now have Brian O'Halloin presenting homage to Guru using his instrument here. Brian.
Thank you, Rai. Pranam Swamis. So I'll play a piece from the life of Saint Brendan. And Brendan took a journey from south of Ireland to Newfoundland in a leather boat, requiring not only great navigation skills, but also great faith. So I offer this.
Thank you, Brian. That was beautiful, absolutely beautiful.
So, very dear sisters and brothers, devotees and friends in Sri Ramakrishna, Holy Mother and Swami Vivekananda. So, I'm asked to give a vote of thanks. It's difficult to know where to start, but I'll start at the beginning anyway, in terms of the sequence of the program. So first of all, my thanks to Revered Swami Vimokshananda for a moving puja. Puja, of course, can be mere ritualism, but the way it's done with feeling makes all the difference in the world, and also can be transformational. The Jean McGuiness gave a wonderful talk, and I thank her, on the Holy Mother as Guru, and gave us many, many wonderful insights. She pointed out how practical the Mother was in her teachings and her own life, her wonderful grace, her motherhood, and the central teaching that if you have no desires, when desires are all gone, the body falls away by itself. The importance of japa, the importance of regularity, keeping to the truth, and how she was at ease with Sister Nivedita, and how she registered her as her own daughter in the face of possible traditional orthodoxy. And how her humanity came out, because even the Holy Mother can have bouts of laziness. And this demonstrates to us our own humanity and our own potential human failings, and how we can humbly get over them. I thank Swami Shantivratanananda for his lucid talk on Swami Vivekananda as teacher, and how he contributed not only to national awakening, but also was a world teacher. And his example of the idol worship, and people averse to that, and the self-evident truth when a realization or a vision comes through divine grace, and how Hari Singh became a devotee of Krishna. And the transformational atmosphere that Swami Vivekananda carried around with him, mostly giving his energy to the West, but the power of his words, even in the Western context, was elevating and took people to a higher level. And how, according to people such as Devamata, he managed to elevate people's minds to a higher dimension, as it were. And his example of Rockefeller, essentially a materialist, who ultimately founded Rockefeller Foundation and became a follower of Ramakrishna from the sheer words and personality of Swami Vivekananda. I have to thank the children of Balagokulam, Sanatana, Ireland, for their, first of all, not just for their contribution here, but for assembling a wonderful, comprehensive, and children-orientated curriculum, and how every month they come to us, and how Swami Vimokshananda beautifully puts these truths, which are profound and deep, in children's language, and allows them to enjoy children's concepts. But particularly, I would like to thank them for their Guru Stotrams, for their prayers to the Gajanam Stotram, and also, of course, for the realistic drama that they put on. And I had to rub my eyes, is that Ramakrishna sitting there or not? So, and then the important lessons that came from that. Have you seen God? And that's a question that everybody still asks today. And the straightforward answer Yes, I have seen God. Not only that, you also can see him. I see him more real and sitting there. And then, of course, the teaching, you can't squeeze God from an almanac. You can't squeeze a drop of water from it, and so on. And how the children manage to see that the Guru is there, not only in the trees and the environment and the earth and the sun. It reminded me, of course, of the Avadhuta Gita with the 24 gurus, where every part of nature can be a guru if you have an eye to see it. And all of that can be God's grace flowing through all these manifestations of nature. And then, of course, Swami Vimokshananda's talk on Veda Vyasa and Vyasa Rishi, and once more at the children's level, giving them the story of gurus from Lord Shiva through to Vishnu, Brahma, and so on, ultimately to Vyasa, and also, of course, his son Sukadeva, and his contribution, remarkable contribution to this vast, vast storehouse of literature that comes to us today in sacred form, not only the Bhagavatam, but also the Brahma Sutras, and also the Mahabharata, and really coming as he does from a fisherwoman, and Sister Nivedita picks this up and sees how there is a sequence of events from the fisherwoman caste, Rani Rasmani, all the way to Swami Vivekananda, who also managed to be a world awakener and a reformer, a renaissance maker, just as Vyasa was. And then Brian, whose composition and whose delivery is always moving and reminds us of our Irish roots, whether we're born here or not, our association with the land of saints and scholars, and the great contribution that Ireland has had as the westernmost limit of Europe to Europe as such, and the sacred land that we enjoy here now, and our Nivedita house in the vicinity of Ladies' Well, Spring, Holy Well, and the proximity to the school, which is also called Ladies' Well School, and the great connection that the Éire Vedanta Society has in so many ways, and Ireland has in so many ways, with the profound philosophy of Vedanta. And then, of course, I'd like to thank all the participants, whether by Zoom or physically here. It is really good to see people coming to the Nivedita house, given the restrictions that are there, and enjoying the company of the holy place. And I encourage you to continue, obviously, within the confines of the regulations, to come here, because there's no substitute for coming here personally. I'd like to thank Juma and Prithvish for their, as usual, their delightful singing and leading the singing, and the work that they put in also, not just on this occasion, but every Sunday for Arati. And it's difficult to, persuade singers to participate, and so I thank them as well. There are other people who you haven't seen on YouTube, you haven't seen it, or on the Zoom you haven't seen it, and that is the network of computer boffins behind the scenes, fixing things up, running around, and sometimes calmly, sometimes in desperation. And this is all part and parcel of the delivery that we have to use today. And so let us now think of all the gurus now that from the past, and our salutations to them, not only, as I say, in the past, but those present and those who come in the future. Without these great embodiments of shining light, we have no direction. And so with that, I finish my vote of thanks And I hope you will all enjoy thoroughly the spread. And those who are joining us by Zoom can only celebrate as the cameras roam around the fair that we have in the kitchen and the Vivekananda hall. So thank you all. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace, peace, peace be unto all.
Jai Nivedita